Renewable energy accounts for roughly 20% of the total energy supply right now. Much of that growth has been wind in wind energy. Global wind installation saw a 53% jump last year. Let's bring in Jerome Pecresse. He's GE Renewable Energy CEO and President. Jerome, good to talk to you today. Give me a sense of how we should be looking at that number. A 53% jump over a year seems certainly significant, but how much more expansion do you need in order to get to those goals of net zero by 2050?
Good morning, AIkiko. I'm very happy to be with you today to discuss the perspective of that wind market in the US and beyond. I would say last year, the onshore wind market in the US has been at quite an exceptional level for a combination of reasons, including the tax support of the industry. When I look forward, I would expect the onshore wind market to stay at quite a high level, and I would expect the next big thing, the next relay for growth, to be offshore wind. And as you know, the Biden administration is taking a very strong stance in accelerating the permitting of the first offshore wind projects. And that's what will allow to maintain total wind installed in the US, onshore plus offshore, at a very high level in the years to come.
There are some estimates that put growth at triple, essentially that the number from last year would need to triple in order to get to these larger goals of really effectively cutting down greenhouse gas emissions. Is the capacity in place right now to expand at such a rapid level?
Yes, and it's going to be about three things. The first thing is new onshore wind projects, and there is still a large amount of land in the US with pretty good wind with our new technology can allow to do very competitive projects in terms of the cost of onshore wind energy, which, as you know, today is the cheapest available source in the US. The second thing is going to be a continued repowering of the existing onshore wind farm with bigger rotors, more efficient turbine. So here you use the same piece of land to produce more energy. And the third is going to be offshore wind, where the potential in the US is massive along the East Coast and is still today almost totally untapped.
There's certainly a lot of skeptics that have questioned the reliability of renewable energy, essentially who say, look, when the sun's not shining, the wind's not blowing, where do you get the energy from? Most recently, we saw that freeze over in Texas. A lot of critics who sort of pounced on that and said, that's proof that renewables are not ready for prime time. What are they missing in terms of the technology that's evolved so far?
I think the technology has improved a lot and is now very reliable. So there are two issues in your question. The first one on the variability of wind and solar. It's something that we know how to accommodate as part of the electricity system. We know how to use gas, we know how to use hydro power, and we know tomorrow how to put more and more battery storage into the system. If you talk about the specific Texas event, it was not linked to one specific fuel or one specific source of energy. It was due to, I would say, an overall instability of the grid system and an electricity system at large. We was not resilient enough and modernized enough. And that's why, when you look at the plan of the Biden administration, a strong pillar of it, and Gina McCarthy said it 10 minutes ago, is how do we modernize, make the grid more secure, and expand the grid to be able to accommodate higher and higher renewable content. So again, Texas is much more about the grid than it is about any specific energy source.
And the concerns about storage, how do you address that? Has the technology evolved enough to be able to use wind power, but also store it in a meaningful way?
Yes. The cost of battery storage is coming down. The reliability of battery storage is improving. And so that's an important part of the equation. Hydropower has a big role to play because hydropower is today the most economical way to store large amounts of electricity. And the US has a massive potential as far as hydropower is concerned. And the third thing I would say, when you go offshore wind, then you get to wind which are much more regular, much stronger. So when an onshore wind farm would typically operate 20-35% of the time, an offshore wind farm can operate 50-60% of the time, given the fact that the winds are stronger and much more regular, which allows to put also, and you can also put much bigger turbine offshore wind.
We've heard the president talk about going carbon-free by 2035 when you talk about the electricity grid. How realistic is it to get there without transitional fossil fuels, natural gas in place?
No. To get there, you will still need fossil fuels over the period to balance the variability of renewables. So I think at some stage, when battery storage gets much larger and much cheaper, you may have a different solution to the equation. But the equation in that interim period clearly will rely largely on fuel like gas, which are a very efficient way to balance the economy, the electricity system, and which, as you know, emits much less CO2 than coal.
Jerome Pecresse, GE Renewable Energy CEO and President. It's good to talk to you today. Appreciate you joining us.